Hailing from the days of post-Metarot 5 and the early days of the GBA, it is KBT0D Dechotom, regraded, with a kit of hyper missile, rifle, Gatling, biped legs, and the leg ability of extra magazine, which grants one additional head use and a very small passive bonus to heat and cool when using the head skill on his turn. Now, honestly, for folks that are Chrotojil mains and lovers of the Metarot 5 KBT starter, Dechotom is basically an upgrade in every way, shape, and form, with the exception of mobility. Hyper Missile, compared to Chrotojil's standard missile, is also a gunpowder-based skill, but instead of it being an AoE, it is instead a pierce damage, and also has it unlocked automatically even at low ranks, making it much more easier to use and more conventional for standard damage. Right arm of rifle is your standard and conventional shooting attack you can almost never ever go wrong with using, with no major drawback or weakness for balanced shooting damage. And then left arm of Gatling, also for incredible balance of your shooting skills, is a scattered AoE, meaning it will damage one part normally at normal damage, and two others at 1/3 of damage each. And with biped legs, he does honestly have very solid terrain coverage, and compared to most other KBTs, Dechotom definitely stands just a little bit above the rest when it comes to armor and base damage, which makes him very, very conventional to use and very well balanced across the board. The only real weakness that Dechotom has is the fact that he has very low mobility when fully capped as is. We're talking about the mid 500s or so at best, which really seriously hurts his overall viability on the field, even with the extra heat and cool bonus his legs may give him, or any Metarotters that boost mobility. Speed is really something that Dechotom honestly does suffer from, which really did hurt his initial gradings when I went over him the first time. However, thanks to the tune-up breakdown system, he takes a lot of those weaknesses and throws them out the window to make him just as balanced as any other across the board. Starting with his head part tune-ups at a heat bonus and a cool bonus of plus 100 each, a plus 100 to success, and an additional passive for when he damages a part and breaks it to accomplish pierce damage, he gets up to plus 50% extra damage bonus. Now, by itself, that already makes it a fantastic and an absolute go-to for his upgrades for his head when it comes to the tune-up system. For cooldown and heat, I'd say that one's honestly kind of up in the air. You could honestly go heat or cool very easily without anything really hindering his performance. Success is really something that Dechotom really doesn't need, though, when it comes to Hyper Missile, because it is a gunpowder-based skill, and when fully capped, it is always guaranteed to hit. If anything, that extra success bonus would just guarantee a higher chance at landing critical hits. For his right arm, the rifle, he has plus success 200, plus power 200, and then the pierce damage bonus of plus 30%. Now, much like the head part that he does have access to with that damage plus, that already makes his right arm rifle probably one of the next best in the game, in my personal opinion, compared to, say, Warbonnet, who only has just the strongest basic rifle with no extra bonuses. This extra pierce damage bonus that Dechotom has access to will definitely put him a step above the rest with conventional balance of shooting skills. Success and power, you could honestly go either direction, but I would honestly have to give it to power to really make his basic rifle stand above the rest as a part that you can really use anywhere with no drawback or weakness. The left arm of Gatling has access to plus 200 to success, plus 100 to cool, or as a bonus passive, heat and cool get plus 200 when being used on the field. Now, honestly, this extra passive will guarantee that even if he is stuck with low mobility, this guarantees that Dechotom will absolutely have no problem coming in to pepper anyone that stands in his way or he's targeting. And just as a reminder as well, when it comes to Gatling attacks, they usually do come with a much higher rate of success and thus a likelihood of a higher chance of landing crits. So that being said, you definitely do want to capitalize on that plus 200 or even up to 200 bonus to success as well, to guarantee that when you do use that standard Gatling, you do have the highest chance of crits if possible to maximize on the scattered AoE. And then last but not least, with his legs, plus 200 to mobility. Right there alone already makes Dechotom leagues better than he was before pre-tune-up treatment, and absolutely will highlight on that one for sure. Melee resist plus 300 honestly will make his legs just a little bit more tanky than they were before, on top of his already very high armor pool that he has across all four parts. Armor plus 500 only amplifies this even more so if that is what you choose to go after. Extra magazine gets 1 additional head use when fully capped, as well as additional plus 50 to heat cool upon using head skills. So this means instead of having a cap of 5 hyper missile charges, if used as a pure set, Dechotom will have a maximum of 6, and in addition to this will also run just a little bit faster to and from the line with that heat cool bonus. And then last but not least, S rank on prairie terrains, much akin to most other biped legs that have gotten the tune-up treatment thus far. Now with the legs, as said, the mobility bonus is absolutely what you want to shoot for the most, as that was one of his biggest weaknesses compared to any other part that he has or any of his biggest flaws. The lack of mobility at mid 500 was what hurt him the most, but that extra 200 will put him up in the mid 700s and bring him up to speed with everyone else so that the passive meta runner you assign to him can do the rest of the job. And then the extra magazine ability is honestly a very nice touch as well, to guarantee that he can absolutely lay on the pain and the peppering with the hyper missile, especially since it's a pierce damaging blow and not an AoE. For his old pure set and mixed parts score, I originally rated him at a 6.5 out of 10, primarily again because he has fantastic balance and very good armor. Pretty much he's better than Dechotom and most other conventional shooters and most standard KBTs in pretty much every way, shape, and form except for his mobility as mentioned. And as mixed parts on the other hand, for that incredible balance, a 7 out of 10. However, because and factoring in the tune-up upgrades that he has access to when fully tuned, his new pure set score, I have to bump up to a 7.5 out of 10. Because of that boost that he gets to his mobility, this allows Dechotom to stand with the big dogs, and even if he is just a hair slower than most of the other typical faster ones, that extra 200 will really come in handy in helping him outrun most opponents, especially given that his arms and head have access to heat and cool upgrades thanks to the tune-up system. And as mixed parts score, I have to bump him up to an 8.5 out of 10. Again, given the fact that his arms and his head have incredible balance pretty much across the board that he has available, even if his head is a heavy part that to make use of. The hyper missile pierce damage is something you really can't say no to. And in addition to that, the mobility and the extra magazine ability is also something that you can absolutely capitalize on with Dechotom, whether you choose to use him as a pure set or as mixed parts.